Let's be honest. One of the most uncomfortable conversations we have as remodelers is when clients ask for a detailed breakdown of materials and labor. You've probably had moments where you felt torn. Do I give in and itemize, or do I stand my ground and risk losing the job?
Hello, this is the Hackhour Podcast, a show where it's all about helping real, everyday, hard-working remodelers learn the secrets to having it all in life and business. And now, here's your host, Mike Minges.
Well, let me tell you, there's a better way. Today, I will show you a couple different options and help you understand exactly how you can address this challenge. It happens to all of us, right? And understand that breaking out detailed material and labor estimates, most jobs, for most people, is not necessary at all. And it just takes a little understanding of how to navigate these waters and handle these conversations with confidence to where you'll find that you can keep a lot of your pricing more proprietary if that's your preference. So look, if you're tired of the back and forth and you want a pricing strategy that works, you're in the right place. So let's get started. I appreciate you all coming back to the Hackhour Podcast. Again, I'm Mike Minges, longtime remodeler and founder of the Remodeling Academy and your host. Look, this is the podcast where we help remodelers get out of their own way, master their craft, and start winning in business and life. Now, today we're diving into a challenge that all of us, myself included, face in this remodeling world, right? And being asked to break out your estimates is an interesting topic for a lot of people. You have guys that will go in both directions. And for most of you, if you're a traditional remodeler, if you do decks, additions, kitchens, baths, I will explain to you why you don't necessarily want to do that, okay? Unless you want to turn the tables and talk to your clients, are you a cost plus contractor? Okay, then we can do that. But in the traditional sense, it doesn't work. All right, so part of the issue is homeowners are trying to do what they can do to make good buying decisions. So it's not their fault. They just don't know, right? And us as professional remodelers, we learn skills because we do this every day out in the field. And now you come to a place like this to learn the skills, how to navigate these waters when you're doing your presentations, all right? And this way, you'll effectively build the trust that you need, and you can figure out ways that you can communicate well with your prospect and protect your pricing when needed, all right? So let's get started. I want to share with you guys a story about one of my first big remodeling projects, and it was a $150 renovation, right? And back then, this was something I was excited to do. I was eager to impress the prospect. So when this client asked me for a breakdown of materials and labors, my first thought was, okay, I guess. If that's what they want, that's what it's going to take to get the job. So, here you spend hours. You meticulously create line-by-line list of every item, right? Every piece of wood, all the hours of labor. You're breaking it down to the screws, the nails. But here's what I found happened, right? The client took my list and they thought they were being smart. They were savvy, right? And they were going to shop it around. They wanted to try to find better prices, see if someone could do parts of the labor cheaper, see if they could get materials cheaper, right? But what they didn't realize was how my price was carefully orchestrated and all the parts fit in together. And when you start trying to pull out this piece here and that piece there, the whole thing starts to fall apart, right? They didn't realize that many of the specialty products that I was using or was suggesting that we use, well, they weren't available at all of your big box stores, right? They came from certain select distributors, and they weren't even sure how to even purchase those or acquire them. They were going to probably have to set up accounts at some of the distributors because some don't even sell to the public, right? So that presents a hurdle. Now, in my mind and in the prospect's mind, all of this should have just been a straightforward project, right? And what it did is it turned into the most confusing back and forth. For example, they balked at the cost of a specific fastener that I wanted to use, right? It was pricey. But what the homeowner didn't understand, because they don't know how to do all the correlation, was that by us using a more expensive fastener, it would be cheaper in other ways because it wouldn't require extra certain bracketry, and it was a labor saver. So overall, it was probably cheaper. Their solution was, well, let's just get a cheaper fastener, right? You needed let's say it was an 8-inch screw. Well, I can get those cheaper online. And I appreciated their effort and I thanked them, but then I had to explain and help educate. Well, you see, the fastener that you're suggesting that we use, unfortunately, it won't meet code in that specific application. So a couple issues are going to happen here. One, it's not going to function properly and do what it was supposed to do. Two, it's literally going to compromise the safety of the project entirely. And third, it's not going to pass inspection. And the homeowner sat there and his spouse looked over at him and you could read the writing on her face. She's like, you're an idiot. Like, why are you trying to shop the contractor? However, but they thought they were doing the right thing, right? Now, the back and forth didn't just end with this one particular fastener, right? They were curious about pulling in. They thought that maybe a certain sub should be a different price. And I explained, well, if we go with a different sub, see my sub that does this, he also handles that. So if you pull him out and want to use a different one, well, now you have to pick up that cost because see, he sort of does that. And that's why I didn't have it listed out over here. And so again, the homeowner just didn't understand how each piece of the puzzle fit in exactly the way it should. They further didn't understand how, again, materials, fasteners, and methods, right? They're all interconnected, and each choice affects the next step in the process, and it ends up, when you want to start making changes, it ends up creating a domino effect that gets complicated. So there's ways to address this, and we have guides that specifically you can look at that help. There's a lot of good questions that you want to throw back to a prospect. And, specifically keep this in mind, because this is part of our foundational sales process that we talk about a lot. When a client has a question for you, first thing you want to do is look and smile and be happy and thank the prospect. Say, that's great. I'm glad you've asked this question. That's a good question. And then ask something back with curiosity. So that's a great question. Please share with me. What is it specifically about that you'd like to know more about? Or, okay, yeah, I've been asked to break out my estimates before. What is it in particular that you're hoping to discover in this process? Now, we just never know where it's going to go. Your prospect could be price shopping you and they want everything detailed out. That's one thing. They might just be curious about something as simple as, well, what's the demo part cost? Because maybe they have a brother-in-law that's out of work and they'd like to have the brother-in-law come in and do some of the demo to help out, right? We just don't know. And I'm not saying you have to do anything. What I'm suggesting is, before you get frustrated with your prospect, ask the question. Try to uncover exactly why they're looking, right? And then you can take this in a myriad of directions, depending on your business and how you want to approach things. So let's get into just a couple simple things that for this particular podcast. Again, we have other guides that get into more detail and we'll address those in future episodes. But for today, so here's a simple thing. Why breaking out cost mostly doesn't work in our industry, right? Because we really just are trying to avoid clients' misinterpretation. See, when a client sees line item breakdowns, right, they often want to compare it to maybe DIY pricing, or they might start thinking that they're being overcharged. See, they might see a line for like a cabinet and say, but I've seen cabinets online for half that price. And they may have seen a cabinet for half that price, but it's not the same cabinet. And before we get so defensive, it's good to say, oh, tell me about that cabinet. Do you have the specs? Okay, well, let's look at it. Go print those specs out for me. I want to make sure we're comparing an apple to an apple. It may look like the same cabinet. Where was it manufactured? How is it manufactured, right? What type of wood? What is the species, right? What are the doors? What's the construction of the doors? How about the frame itself? How is that constructed? How well is that particular cabinet going to hold up in the application that we're hoping to use it here for? And often what we start finding is what the client thinks is cheaper. Yes, the price of it may be cheaper, but then it's going to possibly complicate it, not work, or present many other issues, right? They often don't understand, because they don't do the job every day, that there are differences between possibly the custom cabinet that you spec'd versus an off-the-shelf option, and installation costs can start varying. If you're a high-end kitchen installer, you know that it's pertinent that the cabinets come out to meet certain specifications if you're going to get all your face frames to line up properly, if you want to make the molding look excellent, and if the client is sourcing something that's going to have greater tolerances and margin of error, explain to them, if you do choose that cheaper cabinet, it is going to be harder. In fact, it could be almost impossible for us to give you that professional look, because things won't line up. The frames could be warped. Your doors could be warped. They won't close properly, right? And explain to them what that could look like. Explain how literally on a tall 36 or 42-inch wall cabinet, the door won't close flush. The top part of the door tends to want to bow out. The bottom part will bow out. These are the things that happen when you go with cheap cabinetry. It ends up looking cheap down the road. It may not look bad the first week, but over time it does. So it just helps you to become more professional and show the client that you care and that you want to educate them. That's all we're trying to do at the end of the day, right? So what we're not there, right, is suddenly trying to be feeling stuck and trying to justify our price. Instead, focus on the value that you deliver. Let the client see by your demonstration how knowledgeable you are about the industry and how all the different components work together, and how your years of expertise say, we've tried doing things like that in the past, and listen, if that's the result you're looking for, well, then let me make a clause here in the agreement that our client is choosing to go with a cheaper price, and they're okay that the actual end result may look different and may have variations. Doors could be warped. Face frames may not line up properly. And if they're okay with all of that, then you can decide if that's something you want to move forward with or not. My suggestion to you is to not, but I would let the client know that maybe you're open to it in the beginning, possibly. What I'm trying to say is sometimes we want to let the client know that, let me think about that, right? But then you help the client understand that what they're asking isn't really what they want. And they will end up making that decision. And then they'll come back right away and say, you know what, we've thought about it. You're right. We don't want to go that direction. See, what I'm trying to say is sometimes you don't always want to say no immediately. You may want to leave it a little open-ended for just a little bit of periods to help them think and stew on it, because people don't like to be told no when they think they have a really good idea. However, if you give them some time and feed them some more information, then they can start to recognize that maybe their great idea wasn't so great after all. That's the approach I would suggest. So try using a lot of reframe techniques. We've talked about this a lot. We talk about it constantly in our sales process, right? Explain to the homeowner that, remodeling the kitchen, they should think of it just like a recipe for grandma's pie, or, this stuffing recipe, right? All the ingredients matter. And even more importantly, it's the little ingredients that sometimes you think don't matter, but make all the difference in the world. And look, it comes down to the chef's expertise, and that's what really brings it all together, right? The chef knows just how to make sure that it's just a pinch of this and a bab of that, and this is what you do right here. And man, that's how we get these amazing results, because we've done it 100 times. So again, your focus is on delivering a complete project that meets the client's expectations, and often itemizing only distracts and confuses and makes that final outcome less attractive for all involved. We also have to help the client understand what they're really paying for, right? Think of it as your comprehensive value of services. Look, remodeling is so much more than just materials and labor. A huge component is project management and the expertise and customer care that it takes to navigate that process. And I'll speak to kitchens specifically for this example. You all have heard me talk, and if you've taken our other course, you know about the emotional roller coaster, right? First week or two, everybody's excited for this kitchen remodel. We can't wait. And it doesn't take but about 10 days till that customer is frustrated. They don't have a kitchen. Their home's a wreck. They come home. They're not able to relax. They're tired of eating out. They just want their peace, right? Their home is their refuge. And then you start noticing that their fuse gets shorter and they're more agitated as you get into about 3 to 4 weeks into the job, right? And a expert kitchen remodeler, you specifically like your project manager, they know how to help the homeowner navigate, right? They can talk with the homeowner and say, listen, Mr. and Miss Smith, it's been 3 weeks. I can imagine that you're starting to find yourself a little agitated or frustrated. It sucks not having your daily routine. You'd like to come home and have your kitchen. We so appreciate your understanding. We so appreciate how accommodating you've been to our staff. We are excited. We know how much you want this project completed, and we are doing our best to give you the most amazing kitchen remodel. And know this, we are almost halfway through. We're going to get through this together. You guys are doing great. I know you can manage a few more weeks because it's going to be worth it. And that little type of a reassurance and a pep talk goes a long way, because now the homeowner can go back and with their spouse later on talk about, we are frustrated, but they're letting us know it's going to be worth it, right? And they're letting us know that they're going to get us through this, and it is going to be great. And you know what? So then you help reframe them and set them back to a proper place so that they can get through and they don't get agitated with you over the littlest things because they're on their edge, right? This is what it means to be that professional remodeler, right? You know what the client is about to experience. You know what they are experiencing. So you're able to communicate with them appropriately. You're able to let them know that you understand. You've been where they are. You've had other clients that have been where they are. And it's okay. They're going to get through it. It's all going to work out. And you say to them, thank goodness that you hired us, a professional remodeler who guarantees that we're going to get the project done for you in the time that we said. Say, can you imagine how frustrated you'd be right now if you went with that other company you were thinking about? Yeah, the one that was a lot cheaper. Say, you can be rest assured they wouldn't be half as far as we are, right? And there'd be a whole lot more issues going on, and your frustration level would be through the roof. So you guys are doing the right thing. It's all going to work out, right? Just have a little pep talk with them if needed. So let's bring it back here to this comprehensive value of services. Remember, explain to the homeowner how at times that we buy materials in bulk, and that helps save us cost across multiple phases of this job and multiple projects. And if you're asking us to break down the price for just one project, well, then a lot of these efficiencies would go away, because now I would have to pull your project out and put it by itself and say, well, you would like a breakdown, right? Well, this is how much that amount of screws cost, because in reality, we would just have to go buy those screws just for your job. And so you'll start to lose some of that volume pricing, right? And remember, explain to the customer, well, how everything's not black and white, and how life, and especially remodeling, is a shade of gray, right? And experience and expertise and efficiency all come into play. I've often explained to homeowners that one of the challenges to breaking out line item is that I'm not always certain which of my carpenters is going to do which phase of your project 6 weeks or 6 months from now. So I have different rates that these guys earn. They each have different talents. Some are faster at this, some are faster at that. And if you're asking it to be lined item out, the only way we could do that is if we go to a cost plus method. And they say, well, what's that? And then that's when you hand them our guide that gives the definition to a lot of construction terms. But that's where you can explain to them, well, we could consider if you as a contractor are open to cost plus, when a customer is adamant about a price breakout, again, you say, well, we could look at doing cost plus. And they say, well, what's that? And say, well, that's where you get charged exactly what it costs. It's whatever the cost is plus our markup, and that's it. So we buy exactly the amount of screws that we need, and whatever's left over, you keep them. They're yours, right? And you get billed exactly the labor that went into it. But the only way we know that is we have to start building it. So if you want a line-by-line item pricing, sounds to me like you want cost plus, right? And then they'll look at you a little bit. So again, it's helping customers understand. They think they know what they want, but you have to be the one to help educate them. So also explain to the homeowner again that one of the reasons why they've contacted you is that your company, right? Part of your process and part of what they're paying for when you give them that one price is they are paying for the confidence to know that when they hand you the keys to the project, that you're going to be able to take it from start to finish and handle all the unexpected things that come up in the middle. And they are paying for your years of experience to ensure that everything goes smoothly as can be, and that everything gets done properly the first time, and that at the end of the day, they get what they asked for, right? The end result meets the initial vision that the client had. And those things are hard to put a per hour price on unless we go to cost plus, right? All right. Now, also want to explain to you how to handle some additional client concerns, right? So we want to build confidence in our estimate and in our process. So this means that you want to present a single, clear process for how you estimate and bring it up front. This is how we do our estimates. And then it's a much easier conversation with the client. They might, in the first half hour of you meeting with them, they should know that we don't break out our estimates. We do a professional, complex process, and at the end of the day, we put together one item and we say, here is the cost to do all of this, right? And this avoids a lot of the unnecessary back and forth that can erode trust, because what ends up happening is if you don't bring up in the beginning how your company does present estimates, then what ends up happening is you just present an estimate and the customer's like, oh, we wanted it broken down. And you're like, well, now it looks bad, right? Because now you're being defensive. Whereas if right in the beginning you say to the client, Mr. and Ms. Homer, we'd love to meet with you. If you like everything and if you're the kind of client that we would like to work with in the future, so this would be how it looks. And this is what happens going forward. We would provide you with an estimate. And that estimate would be what it costs to do the job. It's not a broken out estimate. It's just we come up with a price, and that's what we're willing to do the job for, right? And you explain that up front. So you also explain to the homeowner, and this is something you can use, is listen, Mr. and Ms. Smith, we have carefully crafted this estimate to include everything you'll need for a successful project, right? This approach also helps ensure transparency, and it doesn't bog down and get anyone confused with a lot of unnecessary details. Now, here's another pro tip that you can use when you have that persistent client. And again, if somebody is just insisting on some sort of a breakdown, remember, you just redirect, right? You want to ask them, right? Is there a specific item or part of the project that really has you this concerned? And you can explain, look, Mr. and Ms. Smith, just like car dealerships that sell vehicles, they sell them as a whole typically. We structure our project as a whole. Maybe you want to change out the tires. So for instance, if it's a kitchen, sure. If you want an allowance for the appliances, we can do that. Would you like an allowance for the cabinets? Maybe you can do that. But what you're not going to be doing is itemizing out all the things, right? Maybe you pick a few things. It's just like a homeowner that's buying a car. Some people want leather, some people want cloth. Okay, maybe you should be able to accommodate that and work with them. So again, find out what their real concern is, and then you should be able to resolve it without having to compromise your whole process. So imagine this. What if you could handle all these conversations with confidence, all these objections? What if you learned how to present the remodeling project in a way that actually eliminates the client having the objections at the end because you've carefully orchestrated the way you go about doing your presentations, right? So imagine never having to worry about being asked or the confrontation that comes up when someone wants you to break out materials and labors again, because you've learned how to effectively deal with it and address it up front in the beginning, right? Picture yourself. Here you are, you're focused on delivering incredible results while protecting your time, your pricing, and your business. Guys, the good news is that you can do this, right? And it's, for many of us, it is time to stop being a victim of price checking by prospects and take control of our business and be paid and protect, again, our time. So guys, many of you have learned how to do this while working with us, and the goal is that there are many more of you that we would hope will learn how to do this, because we know how frustrating it is to get price checked, and we know how frustrating it is to have to be asked and then figure out ways to respond to, will you break out that estimate? So here's what I'd like to suggest to a lot of you guys is that you need to get over to Remodeling Riches. Now, here is why you need to get over to Remodeling Riches. We offer the remodeling industry's first ever 5-day remodeler challenge. And this is why you would want to get in on it now. See, ask yourself, are you ready, and have you been wanting to take your remodeling business to the next level? All right, good. So don't wait for success to pass you by. Go get it, right? Sign up and be a part of the first 5-day remodeler challenge at remodelingriches.com. Start transforming your business today. Here's what you'll get. Look, in just 5 days, you're going to learn how to get paid for estimates, right? You're going to learn the proven strategies that immediately are going to boost your profitability. You're going to discover the little secrets, how you can set yourself up so that this year is finally going to be a successful one, and the years after as well, right? And you'll get access to the tools and the techniques that you need so that you're the one who's winning the jobs and not losing to the competition. Now, we've put together a few amazing things for those of you that are what we call the action takers, right? Those of you that are ready to succeed. So we're offering some extra bonuses to the first 25 people who sign up for this challenge. And these resources are designed to give you that extra edge that you need, especially in the economy that we're dealing with right now. So look, if my suggestion to you is don't let your competition beat you to them, right? If you're already finding it difficult, the last thing you want to do is not take action and then finding out 3-4 months later that your competition is using a lot of these strategies and it's making it even harder for you, right? That's not where you want to be. And you guys are smart. That won't happen. So act now, get in on it, go to remodelingriches.com and secure your spot in the 5-day Remodeler Challenge. Guys, look, it's time. Take the first step to a more profitable and successful business. Again, it's better for you to have these resources than your competition. Don't wait. Register now and take control of your remodeling business today. Look, your success is ready for you. The only question is, are you ready for it? Don't delay. Take that action today. As always, thank you for listening to the Hackhour Podcast. Please like and subscribe. I thank you. I remind you to keep striving, keep growing, keep winning. And until next time, take care. And guys, be inspired. Go get it.
Thank you for listening to the Hackhour Podcast. It would be awesome if you would leave us a quick review on iTunes. To further your remodeling success, go to remodelingriches.com.